Good morning, everybody. Dave Savage here. I am actually working out of a little phone booth at WeWork in Portland today. I'm actually moving offices, and so I don't have my office yet, so I'm working on this little phone booth. I just want to say hi to everyone really quick. I'm not going to keep my camera on the whole time, but I do invite any of the other mentors or leaders that want to flash on a camera and say hi. Today, for the leadership team, we've got Mr. Todd Bookspan helping me co-lead and facilitate today's call. What's up, Todd?
You know, super excited to be here as always.
Thank you, brother. And we have the one and only amazing Jen Duplessis. What's up, Jen?
Hey, good morning. Thank you. That was so sweet of you.
Well, I've been thinking a lot about you because Jen has asked me to write a testimonial for her book and a recommendation, and so I've sat down and I've written some things. I just want it to be great, and it's one of those things where I'm thinking all the great things about you. So I've been thinking about a lot of great things, and hopefully I could actually send you something that I would, that I think would help you in your book one day soon.
Thank you. Appreciate that very much.
Yeah. So I don't think we have any other leaders on today's call yet. If someone is here and I don't see you, Danny and Michelle, Dave, speak up. But I want to kick off the call first, reminding everybody what we talked about last week. Last week, Jen was kind enough to really go deep and be very transparent with her mortgage under management systems, processes, and scripting. There was what I thought was one of the all-time best scripts I've ever heard in terms of how she sets expectations with the home buyer to do business for life. So Jen, that was incredible. A recording to that has been posted to our Facebook group. And if you do have more questions for Jen or you want to go deeper on her systems and process, feel free to share that in comments or post that. Todd, is there anything you want to say about last week's call or the video before we kind of move on with new topics?
Well, what I would love to know is if you actually listened to Jen again. So I, yesterday morning, sat down, re-listened to that section of the call, that 22 minutes and 30 seconds about, and I typed out her script, and then before this call, I had my team on a call, and I read them that script and said, all right, how is this different, and how is this more impactful from what you are talking to with your clients? And so my encouragement to all of you is, what have you done differently since that call? There was also talk last week of client for life, mortgages under management, and the same thing applies, right? Are you actually doing anything actionable based on that? Most of you know that I'm a huge proponent of annual reviews, and then I took all of my newer loan officers out to lunch this week, 5 or 6 of them, and my marketing guy, and sat there and actually walked them through sort of the different things that I heard on those 2 calls last week. And again, just kind of giving them some new tips from somebody other than me, right? One of the things that's great about a mastermind is when you guys speak up, then it's not just me, Dave, and the mentors talking, it's actually your voice as well. And so anytime we can get a group together like this and get different people's perspectives, we can all learn and we can all be better because we've got such a diverse group here. So that is my kickoff to it, because I listened to it again and it was just as blown away the second go round as I was when I heard it live last week. So great job, Jen.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that it can help people. That's what it's about. And again, I hope that I am going to be able to learn from people on this call today if we can get people to speak up right away. So let's get going.
I'm watching for some hands to go up. If not, we'll empower some people. Right, Dave?
Yeah. First of all, a couple things. I mean, first of all, did you hear Todd? I mean, he went back, he watched it, he wrote it down, he met with his team. That is why Todd is one of the all-time greatest loan officers who did over $100 million in production, and that's why he's a great coach, because he actually takes action. I'm going to be humble here and say that I thought the script was so good, I had planned on having it transcribed. I use rev.com for transcriptions, and then I was going to have that video available to everyone today, and I didn't do it. So there was something that I was going to do, wanted to do, thought I should do for the community, didn't do it. Obviously, Todd, you did, so thank you for that. By the way, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if there's any chance you might share some of that scripting in a Facebook post, I think folks would appreciate it. Any chance we could put you on the spot and have you do some sharing on that, Todd?
Yeah, I've got an Evernote, so I can cut and paste it and do a few. Probably just needs a little spell check edit, but that would be great. What was the transcription service you mentioned? I always love hearing your tech hacks that you have, because I think that you're a pretty darn tech savvy guy. Rev.com.
So yeah, and we use Rev two ways. So, literally almost all of the calls that we do, we do have transcribed. So, I mean, just so you can show that, look at it. I mean, we do a lot of transcriptions. You can see the dates here and see that this is a service that we use a lot at Mortgage Coach. Now, when we transcribe it, we're either creating content, that are blog posts, that are, part of our toolkits, just haven't got to that call yet. And then also it has an app. I download the app, and the app is what really started me using this service, because I can literally, record something as a voice memo and then press a button and have it transcribed from my mobile phone. And I use that a lot for things like mainly scripts, like things that are just 15, 20-second to-dos. I use the text-to-voice features within Apple. But if I really want to create a document or write an article, I rarely just write it out. I usually, record it, transcribe it, and then I start most of my content using the app, Rev.com. So that's why I'm talking. So let's not go too far off the rabbit trail. Let's go back for just a minute. And I posted the question in Facebook: what did you do differently this week versus last week after listening to Jen Duplessis? So two ways to participate. Either one, you can write a comment in Facebook. You could do that now, or you could do that after the call. You can raise your hand. Let's see if anybody's raised their hand. Really want to push someone, because by the way, I'm going to call on someone if no one raises their hands and say, what did you do differently? We've got so many people on the call now, it's hard to remember who was on it last week. Todd, do you see any names that were on last week's call that we could just pick on and ask them what, if anything, they're doing this week versus last week?
I actually see a guy who works here in the Phoenix market, John Blanks, who is just a super good guy. Area manager with Home Street Bank, and I think that he would be a great guy to see what he's got going on.
So, John, whether you want to be unmuted or not, you've been unmuted. What's up, John?
Oh.
Hey, John. Can you talk? Looks like we got either John doesn't want to talk or John can't talk. Hey, John. Hey,
John talks a lot, so he must not be able to talk.
Hey, John, we've unmuted you. Can you talk? All right, we gave John a shot. Let's see. You know what? I know one person that has a question for today, and Tim Lamb. I have unmuted you. I know, one, you have a question for the community today. Were you any chance on last week's call? Come on, Tim.
So I'm looking forward to diving back into it, but I was not on last week's call.
All right. Well, then you can't answer the question. I'm not going to immediately dive into your question, but if you could throw it out there for the group, and somewhere around the 30-minute mark of today, we're gonna jump all over that question. But if you could just ask the community in your words, that'd be great.
Perfect. Well, I was thinking about being productive and doing a bunch of one-timing events. So I want to build a YouTube channel that would have answers to the top 25 questions that I get posed on a daily basis. And I'm trying to figure out who has the best YouTube channel available so I can swipe and adapt their ideas and add my content to it.
Right on. Well, and by the way, you mentioned that you already follow Mortgage Coach, and you also mentioned Kelly Zitlow, which, by the way, if Kelly doesn't have the best YouTube channel of a mortgage professional, she certainly has one of them. So Tim, if you could do two things. One, be ready to be unmuted again when we really hit that topic hard. But also, if you would just post, like you posted that question in comments, if you could make that a post asking that question, and then I'm going to drive the community to share examples in a few minutes. Does that sound good, brother?
Perfect. I'll get it done. Thank you.
All right. You know what'd be great too, Dave? You know what'd be great too is if people throw in there, let's come up with a list as a community of what the 25 top frequently asked questions are.
Love that, Todd. Fantastic idea.
Right.
So everybody in the community, start thinking, who are the best examples of leaders that have an awesome, they're a mortgage professional, they have a great YouTube page, and what are the 25 videos that, you should create to deliver more efficiencies and more values to the families that you serve. Love that. So we're going to come back to that. Jen, is there anything, knowing that, you were the one that we interviewed last week, and I don't know if people have reached out to you afterwards, but is there anything you think we should think about and talk about before we move off of last week and get into the comments and conversations for this week?
No, I don't think there's anything from last week, other than the two of you were talking about, intention of doing something versus actually doing something as a follow-up to these meetings. I would just say that if you're spending an hour on this call and you think it's valuable, then create a jam session right after this call to take action. That's part of we're part of this product, insane productivity. So if you can't do it right after, this call every week, then put something in your calendar that says, insane productivity action jam session. And if you didn't have any action items, that's fine. You have some free time that you can breathe, but this way it gets done. So that's the only thing I would say is anytime you're listening, do that.
Yeah, and I love the idea of scheduling that, knowing that you're gonna spend an hour to listen, consume. Hopefully, it's not just pure entertainment. To schedule that jam session in advance to implement and execute. I love that. That's a great takeaway. Takeaway for me. I've done it before, but I don't do that often. I'm rarely proactive with scheduling jam sessions. So thank you on a personal note, Jen. That's an awesome idea.
Sure.
Yeah. So hey, Amy, thanks for being so active in our community. So for anybody that's not looking at the Facebook page, Amy just said, I started talking about the entrance, holding, and exit strategies with clients, and saying specifically, with your permission, and then Amy, I'm having a hard time reading out loud, everybody. So sorry, I'm trying to do too many things. But Amy, great job. Thank you for adding color to that. Jen, anything you want to add to that before we get into some of today's conversation?
No, but thank you for sharing that, Amy. That's great. And I'm trying to read it too, process that we could, feel compelled to refer your friends and stuff. So what's a response is what I really want to know. So if you're on the call, Amy, maybe we can unmute you. I'd just like to know how that go, how to feel, did it feel comfortable, and what was the response to people, by people?
Amy, you've been unmuted. Thoughts? Hey, Amy. All right, Amy is not in a place or she could be unmuted, but Amy, if you do want to raise your hand, jump in. Oh, by the way, it looked like Amy got it unmuted. Hey, Amy. Amy, one last chance. All right, so hey, Maureen. What's up, Maureen? I have unmuted you. You had your hand raised. How's it going? Maureen, did you mean to raise your hand? All right. Well, folks, we want you to raise your hands. We want to have engagement and make this as active of a mastermind as possible. Amy, thanks for posting in Facebook. Amy raised her hand. Let's give it another whirl. Hey, Amy, I've unmuted you.
Okay, let's try this again. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay, so when I first talked about the entrance, holding, and exit strategies, it was so uncomfortable, I have to say, because there was a part of me that was sort of just shooting from the hip, talking about, I don't really know what this is going to sound like, or, but just going with it. And I think the client, it was a different feeling in the conversation. And I think what I've been searching for and trying to do is to just upgrade how I speak with the clients about referrals and about how we're going to take care of them. My heart is there, but I just haven't had the wording behind it. And so it was a very different conversation that I've had in a long time, and it felt so good, even though it just felt completely awkward.
Great. So how did you feel after doing it, 6 or 7 times? I mean, how many times did it take that you're like, okay, I'm getting the hang of this?
Only a couple. I would say 2 or 3. I haven't done it that many times, but I can see how the conversation can lead into it a little better. I listened a few more times to your whole introduction, Jen, and I was curious, is that sort of the very beginning of your talk when you talk with them about what's important to you and how you want to wow them? Is that the very beginning of the conversation that you start?
Yes. Yeah, it's part of the hopes and dreams meeting, conversation.
So
and if I don't have that on the, so if I don't have it on the phone and I'm meeting someone, in the office, we push paper aside and I say, if you don't mind, with your permission, I'd like to just take a few minutes to talk about how my process works, who I am, and what this is going to look like moving forward. And then I just go right into that scripting.
That's awesome. I love it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And Amy, keep being as active as you are. Really appreciate you and love it.
Thanks.
All right, so I've lowered Amy's hands. I don't have anybody else with a raised hand, although we did just get a pretty awesome comment from Michelle Town, one of the mentors of this call. And Michelle, I don't see you in tech or in a place where I can unmute you. Todd, do you see Michelle anywhere? I just want to make sure I'm not missing her and have a way to unmute her.
I do not see her, and I was busy writing down what Jen just said, how my process works, who I am, and what this will look like moving forward. So I was, as always, being a student on this call, I would just love that little piece, right? And so, what I really enjoyed about what Amy said was, right, she picked certain pieces of it. And I think that any kind of scripting, you've got to just memorize it first, right? Kind of feel for what it is, but then you have to customize it for you, and then you internalize it so that it pretty much sounds 90 some odd % the same every time going forward. But the one thing I tend to find is that the people that you see Dave feature on these calls, their scripting is so good. They've really carefully thought out those key points throughout the process, with your permission, right? All these different things that we hear about. And what I loved is that I had read Tim Brahim's script to my team yesterday, and then when I read Jen's script to the team today, there's some things that were the same, right? Our relationship starts when your loan closes, right? Both of them use that same exact terminology, but it's built in differently in different spots and in different ways. And that's what this business is all about. There's so many great ideas that are here in Mortgage Coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree. You have to make it your own. Yeah.
And I so love this call because it's just pure, we're throwing the hot potato around, we're coming up with great ideas, obviously folks are taking action. Michelle Town commented, want to make sure that we shine a light on this. And Michelle, if you do get into the technology and we can unmute you, we'd love to bring you back stage and have you help co-lead today's call. But, she shined a light on, I always use with your permission, great scripting, and I've heard so many top producers either say that or a variation of that. And then something she did last week is just the 3 tasks to complete so they could measure their success. They have to, and by the way, it sounds like this is something she did with her team. They have to sign off their emails for 2 hours and work on those 3 tasks. So, what are the 3 big tasks? Sign off, quiet time, get it done. She went on to say that the team loves it, is feeling good. And 3, what's this? The team loves it and successful at 3 items and connected with all 3 partners during that time period. So anyways, Michelle, thank you for giving a comment, shining a light on that. So we are 21 minutes into the call, and I think we did a nice job of debriefing on last week. Before we move on to new topics, Jen, one last chance, or Todd, anything else you want to add before we move on?
Nope, I'm good.
Let's move.
All right. So Edgar was the first. You know, I posted any suggestions on topics today, send it tomorrow, and Edgar wants to talk about database productivity, database optics, database opportunities, and database lead gen, which is a great topic. I would say, Edgar, please confirm. You know, we did it. We've done a couple calls on CRM. Make sure that you're up to speed on that. And then Todd, you know, what you know, to me, my mind goes a lot of different directions the way you set this up. I kind of, when I look at it, to me, it's easy to just talk about database opportunities. Not so sure how to talk about these other items. What are your thoughts to make this something very actionable as a community?
You know, I think, you know, I always love what you say. You say that the best CRM is one that you use, right? Whichever one you're actually using. And so, you know, I think when it comes to the productivity piece, I think people just have to look about how do they engage and when do they engage. And when he says optics, I don't know exactly what his definition of that would be, but and maybe you guys have something different, but I'm thinking about what reports are we looking at in our CRM. What do you think on that one, Dave?
Yeah, I think that's. But by the way, let's see if Edgar is in a place where we can unmute him. Do you see him?
I didn't see him on here. I was looking while you were reading that. I don't see him on here, which he's usually a pillar of the community. I think people know that you're going to empower them and unmute them, and so they're logging in with fake names. That's my thought of the day.
Right. Well, I just, first of all, I want to make sure that, you know, while we talk about this, we did a call that was just all about CRM, and then we've also done a call where Danny has drilled down on CRM, and then Jen did a video for our community, and that's available on here too. So Edgar, I'm gonna respond in Facebook, making sure that you have links to some of that content and some of those conversations. Since you're not on today's call and we can't, I think, have this conversation with a little more precision, it's hard to speak to what you want there. I would just allow thought on database opportunities. Gosh, guys, there's dozens of database opportunities. The key is focusing on the one or two that could deliver you the most return on investment today. And I don't know that there's any more important or any more valuable database opportunity than connecting with your past clients in a quality way, doing an annual review in a quality way, which we've talked about a lot. And so I would almost, the way I would answer that question is if you haven't, you know, if you haven't put systems and processes that you're consistently executing on your past customer database, then who cares about all these other ideas? They're just getting in the way of what's most important. So the only thing I would say there is that please re-ask this question with more precision, but you know, what's going to hold you over for a few weeks is have you implemented a past customer contact strategy, and are you doing annual reviews, and are you connecting in a best practice way, which we talked about, I don't know if it was last weekend, the week before, and I would just focus on the one most important thing versus, you know, 1 or 8 different ideas. Todd, anything else you want to add to that before we move on to some of Jen's questions here?
You know, all I would say is that, right, it's so easy in most CRMs to create some reports, and to me the obvious ones are your weekly update reports, right, who's in process, and, you know, if you run a team, you should be, you know, and you're not the one that's making those calls, you should have some way for people to be clicking in there to make sure that they're doing it. Annual review, again, another easy one because you can sort by the month that they closed, and you can run that report just to make sure that you're getting in touch with them. You know, clients who are pre-approved, right, we've got a date field where the loan officer clicks on when they last spoke to the client, so we can look at there and make sure that if someone's buying in the next 30 days that they're checking in with them every Wednesday like they're supposed to. If they're buying, you know, 60 to 90 days out, then they're checking in every other week. And so I would just be thinking through whether you're managing yourself or managing a team, just ways to make sure you're taking that out of your brain David Allen, who wrote Getting Things Done, always says mind like water. So rather than try to remember all that stuff, just create those checklists within the system so that you can don't have to be thinking about it yourself.
Love that. And then someone had asked, where can I get access to Jen's questions, our interview from last week? So, if you go to our YouTube page, and then we have a playlist for the Insane Productivity. Every single week we upload that. And last week, week 44, mortgages under management was Jen. And then the week before we talked about Clients for Life too. And so that's that. Again, if you have another question, you had asked that in GoToMeeting. We'll do our best to answer the questions that are in GoToMeeting. But if you really want to make sure a question gets answered and talked about today, put it in our Facebook page. That is the best place to ask questions, answer questions, because they do live forever. So before we get into a couple of Jen's questions, and we got to make sure we get to YouTube, I do want to make sure that people answer this poll question. So we last week had posted, how many times are you speaking to your past clients? I mean, that's literally a 10-second ask. So everybody that's on this call, please, before this call's over or within 10 minutes of this call, go to this specific post and answer the question. How many times are you speaking to your past clients annually? And if never, by the way, no one has put never yet, and I know that's not the right answer. I know that, the only people that are answering the question are people that are doing it at least once annually. But please answer the never option if the answer is never, and be honest as a community. That will help Todd and I better facilitate these calls. Also, a question that was posted last week that, well, we've got 8 comments, and super grateful for the 8 comments that we got. I would say this is a weak response from this community. So again, this is a mastermind. The question was proposed by a number of people. What gifts are you providing past clients as a closing gift? So only like 7 people have responded. And please respond in Facebook, because then we'll have this forever. And then Todd and I can literally come to a call and have a list of, within the mortgage coach community, what are the best past closing gifts? And we got a list of 20, and we can have a list of what are the best 3 or 4. So please, if you have not responded to this and you have what you think is a great closing gift, please post that in comments so that we can come back to you guys with a list of all the best closing gifts. Todd or Jen, anything on that before we move off that one?
I loved Amy's idea. Oh, yep. Go ahead, Todd.
After you.
I was just saying that, I loved Amy's idea, and I really liked Bliss's, and I actually had some follow-up questions for Bliss, and I don't know if she's on the call right now, but I wasn't sure what the gift was at the closing table. Explain that they're entered into a monthly drawing. I was just curious, what is the drawing? Is it a drawing for free payment, like payment thing? Is it a drawing for some dollar amount that a donation will be done for a charity in their name? So I'm just kind of curious what that was for. I mean, there's lots of different ways we could go, but just curious about that. I really like that idea a lot, and it's great marketing too. It just keeps that marketing perpetuating, so I thought that was wonderful.
Love it. All right, so if you could post all your ideas here. I know Danny Harani and the Dealer Advancing team provides a Cutco knife, which is very memorable, has long-term impact. Todd, if you wouldn't mind asking a couple of your clients what you think are some of the best gifts, and by next week have a poster tier, or push some of your clients to answer the question. And Jen, if you wouldn't mind doing the same thing, let's try to get 20 comments and 20 ideas, okay. and then I will distill those into a Word document. We could vote on what we think are the best, and let's knock this out of the park as a community on what are some of the best closing gifts. All right, let's go back to questions. Jen, I'm going to get to your questions and almost close the call on those because I think they also do a nice job of setting up next week's call. And I want to make sure we crush Tim Lamb's question. Well, by the way, I'm going to crush your question real quick here, Amy, because it's quick and easy. So everybody, this call was inspired by Darren Hardy's Insane Productivity Program. To us, every leader on this call has been through that program and is a graduate of that program. We highly recommend it to every mortgage professional on the planet. It's at the very top. Here's where you can sign up. And then, Amy, I would tell you this call would be a vehicle for you to ask questions about the program as you're going through it. And so, and I'm sure that every single week there's someone on this call that's also going through it. But remember, everybody's in different places. So Amy, I would tell you to look at this call as a place to go through it with other people and just realize that on this call, at least 10 of the people on it have been through the program. And then there's always going to be people that are at different places in their journey. So use today's call as a place for you to be with others that are going through the program. There is the answer to the question. So folks, Tim Lamb wanted to know what are the best YouTube channels in the mortgage space. Obviously, our channel is different than what Tim is really looking for. He's looking for a loan officer. So Kelly Zitlow. And by the way, Jen or Todd, if you could be, while we're going through these, one, ask the question and then put in links to the different YouTube channels that we're going to highlight during the call today. So Kelly Zitlow does a fantastic job. I mean, she's got a lot of videos in here. Look at all that. She's got a lot of topics that are fantastic. Kelly is definitely one of the best educators in our space, and I've interviewed her a number of times. Someone also said Dan Keller. So Dan Keller is another amazing mortgage coach who has, an incredible YouTube page, someone that you can learn from. Also, Dan he led this Tuesday's mortgage coach call, and it was all about how to use video with realtors and past clients. So, know that Dan Keller is an incredibly successful loan officer out of the Seattle market. He's got a great page. I don't know how much he talked about his YouTube page because I was, in the air traveling, but I know that he was the mortgage coach guy. So there's another one. Let's see how Jeremy Forcier is executing his YouTube channel. Well, he's got
what about Denise Donahue out of Texas, a mortgage nerd?
Let's do Denise next. So Jeremy.
What is Kelly's last name? What's Kelly's last name so I can put it in here?
Oh, I put that one in there, Jen. I'll let you jump on if you want to.
Okay.
I'll let you take over if you want.
Well, no, you guys can just, you can both add them. So by the way, Jeremy, clearly has a lot of great videos. And I really like some of these fun videos that he's starting to do. I actually, clicked on this one myself the other day of how to pull a perfect shot of espresso. Now these things are highly produced. Don't be intimidated. I don't think, this is a requirement. But some of these are as simple as Jeremy, using his own mobile phone and, his 5-step process. So Jeremy has a good one. Denise, hey, help me spell Donahue.
I think it's got a GHUE on the end. I think I think look up Mortgage Nerd. That might be the way to find it. Yeah, I pulled her up. It's DONOGHUE.
Oh, Todd, you told me to look up Mortgage Nerd, man. There we go. Let's check out what Denise is up to. So, bam, Denise is up to some awesomeness. So more inspiration. So so lots of inspiration, lots of ideas here. Let's push it to the community. If you know of another great person that's doing cool things, raise your hand or post it in our Facebook page. So I'm looking for more inspiration on ideas, and then we're going to transition onto topics. Okay, no one's got their hand raised. Come on, guys. Someone raise your hand. Let me just pull on someone. Let's see. Who do I want to? Todd, anybody that we should just unmute and put on the spot come to mind? Besides John Banks.
You know, that didn't work too well when I said unmute John Blank. So, you know, he missed his moment of glory. You know, I see some other regulars in there like Tim O'Leary. Scott Morse had a question earlier. Ed Glazebrook. I mean, people who I know have been on this call for a long time with the crew.
Hang on, I am gonna. Oh, Robert Rain. Let's see what Robert's up to. Robert. No, Robert doesn't look like he's got a YouTube channel. Anybody else come to mind?
Lori Richardson may have a good YouTube channel. Josh Metal.
Ooh, Josh. We're going to go do Josh. So Sean Herrera, great mortgage professional. Looks like he's got a few videos. And by the way, when Sean does a video, it's going to be awesome. You know, I mean, they're highly produced, really creative, well thought out. Let's check out what Josh Metal has.
So what do you think of the highly produced versus just the normal? I think there's pros and cons to both. So when I used to do my 2 minutes with Todd video when I was producing, Steve Scanlon was my coach at the time, and Steve always said that he thought that people really liked my videos because they weren't very good. And I used to always kind of joke about that with him, but what he meant by that was the fact is they weren't overproduced, right? At that time, you know, you kind of had to think big, work small guys going, and theirs were really highly produced, and mine was just me with my laptop, and they just weren't that great. I recorded it. If I made a mistake, you know, depending on how bad the mistake was, I typically didn't re-record it. I just kept going, and that was my thing. But I also love the ones where people have a cool intro and a cool exit and all of that. It just, if I wanted to do that, I would have never actually gotten my videos done. So I just thought, you know, I just kind of went with what I had. But I'd love feedback from the group or from you guys on that.
Yeah, so I'm going to take the first run at that. So first of all, we did a whole call on video. So I just want to remind anybody that wants to, you know, drill down on that and deeper. I shared a lot of thoughts on that. I don't know how many weeks ago it was. I'm going to pull it up right now. Here it was, week 38, video focus. I mean, personally, I think unproduced, organic, authentic videos are where it's at. But I also think that if you are not already really good at video and you're already doing it, it's the only place to start. Like, you know, why would you start off with highly produced videos? You know, you absolutely should start off with, you know, organic videos. I mean, they do need to meet a certain standard of professionalism so that when your client sees it, you know, it's like, it's you and you feel confident about what you said. But, you know, I just think that is where it's at, is the organic, not highly produced. But I also see some great videos that, you know, like Rick Shear. I'm going to try to pull him up in a minute, but I can't talk and chew gum at the same time. But Rick has a really highly produced, well, it's not that highly produced, but it's produced like value proposition video. But, you know, he created thousands of mortgage coach videos before he did that. He's done all kinds of other videos before he did that. And then he had some inspiration around a 3-minute video that really told his story I wanted to do, but that wasn't where he started. So that's my answer, Todd. Jen, how do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. I mean, as most of you know, I have a podcast called Mortgage Lending Mastery, and I was trying in the beginning, you know, to be professional and, you know, thinking, oh, it has to be professional. And one of the videos, I won't even talk about it, it almost sounded like a Saturday Night Live skit for Christmas about meatballs. And I just laughed at it and I said, don't sound professional, sound like me. And the feedback I get from my podcast is just you know, it's great. We love that you make mistakes on it. We love that you, you know, lose your train of thought, and that you're real and you're authentic. So, you know, I don't know, you know, if you have the financial wherewithal to put together something really, really fancy, you know, and spend the money to do it, and you're still authentic, I think that's just as good as, you know, having someone in your office record you standing behind something. You know, it's the content that matters. Thank you, Dave. It's the content that matters, you know, and, you know, delivering the information and the answers to questions that people have. In this case, us talking about our top 25 frequently asked questions, right? So as long as the content's there, I really don't think that people care. I've seen things that are just horrible, but they're so funny and they're shared everywhere. So that's what you want. You want people to be compelled to share.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to stick with non-produced is where it's at, and the only time you should do something highly produced is once you've got some great organic, non-highly produced content. And want to shine a light on Dan because he's a great teacher and he does video as well as anyone, if not better than everyone. And he did a whole hour on video this Tuesday, and it's available. So a great place for education. Also wanted to shine a light on Jen's podcast. You know, I was honored to be one of the people that you interviewed, Jen, and it's a great podcast. So for anyone that is into podcasts like myself, definitely something to check out and a great example of how Jen Duplessis is creating amazing content and leadership in our industry. Jen, anything else you want to say on that before we move forward?
Nope. I think that's it. No, just thank you for doing that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So let's do this. I think we've given you lots of ideas and inspiration, so I feel like we crushed that question pretty thoroughly. We probably overwhelmed you, Tim. Hopefully someone, oh, here we go. Jen was taking notes. I'll try to post links to these after the call and add a little more value to how we answered that.
I threw them in there, Dave. Dave, I threw them into Tim's code. So I threw about 8 or 10. I've thrown the ones that people are putting in the questions to. Some people suggested Wally and Alicia. So I'm throwing some of those in there as well. So
thank you.
Hopefully that's helpful.
All right. So we're putting those in a place that you can access them, Tim, and hopefully that adds value. So now let's start a thread on what are the headlines and topics. So we spell what right? What are the headlines and topics for the types of videos a loan officer should create in YouTube? How's that? By the way, should I ask that question any differently? Any of the mentors have any leadership on that? Or is that a good way to ask the question?
No, I think it would be better to say top 25 questions. I think it's just much easier. You know, what are
the top line FAQs?
20 FAQs.
What are the top 25 top client FAQs? Is that easier?
FAQs that can be used to create video content.
Look at this mastermind. See, we got this going on here.
That can be used to create YouTube content. Is that how we want to ask the question, everybody? Any words snippets?
That works for me.
What are the top 25 top client FAQs? What are the top?
What are the top 25 client FAQ videos that can be used to create video together? I'm going with that, Jen.
You have top in there twice, just so you know.
Okay, hang on. Where's top?
That's what I was trying to say.
Listen, Dave and I just see the beach, Jen. You see all the grains of sand.
I know. Okay, you have top 25 top.
Oh. I can't believe I couldn't see that.
I'm writing a book. I'm so edit crazy right now. It's ridiculous.
Okay, bam, it's posted. It's posted.
Thanks.
All right.
So,
All right. I'm so glad we got that one done.
Yeah, but you guys, think about how important questions are, how you ask them. If you ask the question in a simple, practical way, you get good, simple, practical answers. So I think it was worth the wordsmithing we did there. So we just asked a great question. I'm going to really turn it over to the community. I would encourage and ask anybody on this call, put in your comments. What do you think are the top 2 or 3? And as a community right now, let's rock it out. Let's get a list of 20 plus awesome videos. So I'm gonna put Jen or Todd on the spot first. If each of you could kind of list out 3 and then put your post in here, and then we'll pull the rest of the community for more.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna go for the low-hanging fruit of APR. I mean,
okay,
go. I can start there. I can look smart. I can look smart with that one if I can get to the question.
Is it APR or ATR?
Well, people still want to know what the APR is, but you can do ATR. That'll work.
Yeah.
Okay. And by the way, guys, just not to overplay it, you can go ahead and just put it in the way you're doing it now, Todd. But I also want to put those questions in a way that's a good headline. Like when you look at Kelly Zitlow, and this is where Kelly rocks it. Again, I haven't found anybody better. But not only does she execute her videos really well, but they've got really good headlines. The way she prepare your credit for this. What are the top 3 video tips? Rent versus own. She does it really well. So obviously just ripped ideas, but let's also try to fine tune them into headlines. Keep going, Todd.
Okay, so here's one way to do that. How about this? Because I did a class on this. The truth about truth in lending.
Oh, nice.
Oh, add it. That's a top 25er.
Yeah. So we can address
you got another one? I'm going to go back and forth, and then I'm going to rotate people from the community at the same time, guys. So, Todd, you got a good one?
What is TRID? I don't know that people really care, but that's a good one. I mean, really, we can come up with a bunch around rate. So I'd love to hear people, when you're calling them on them, come up with the different rate questions that they're getting from clients, because there's so many different ways that people ask that, right? Certainly the one is, do I really need 20% down, is always a great one.
So by the way, Scott Short just posted another great YouTube loan officer who's doing video well, and Shayla Gifford with Guild, who, by the way, I think she's their #1 loan officer, if not, high up there. I mean, she is just a powerhouse originator and a great speaker. So, Scott, thank you for that. If anybody else comes to mind, let me know. Anyways, and by the way, I noticed, like, Maureen, you just posted some ideas in GoToWebinar. If I could ask you to post those as comments in our Facebook page so that they live beyond this call. So all the ideas, post those.
Maureen's not a member of the Facebook community yet, so I sent a message out. If you guys aren't, just look up Insane Productivity with Mortgage Coach Mastermind in Facebook, and then just ask to be let in, and Dave and I can let you in the group.
And I'm pretty much approving people. I think in today's call we've had almost 20 people ask to be part of our Facebook group, and I have already approved everybody almost as you're coming in. So, by the way, guys, we got 10 minutes left. Jacqueline Gallegos, what's up? What is an escrow account? What are your closing costs? What is PMI? Boom. Great ones. Tim, I like your headline. APR explained. APR demystified. APR made easy. APR for dummies. When should I lock in my interest rate? Nice, Michael. Awesome. Tim Lamb, do's and don'ts during the loan process. Boom. Good one, Tim. Community, keep it rocking. Todd Bixman, back to you. What do you got, Todd?
I'm throwing, should I use my retirement account for my down payment?
Oh, love it. Should I open new credit cards and rack up my credit card balance during my loan transaction?
Should I buy a new car? Yeah. Should I pay off my collection account before seeing you? Or what to do before you talk to a lender, or what not to do before you talk to a lender? Are your ducks really in a row, or something like that? You know, getting your ducks in a row, the proper way to get your ducks in a row before talking to a lender.
Love that. Amy, should I wait to buy my home? I'm not sure if I can afford what's out there right now. Boom! Absolutely. You know, cost of waiting.
And then do it. Yeah, cost of waiting. Here's another one. My bank has better rates, right?
Wrong.
I should start with my bank, right? Right. Okay.
Wrong.
Is PMI really that bad for me?
Chris Chambers. Hey, Chris, thank you for this post in GoToWebinar, but if you could put this in the YouTube chat, but Chris had a good one. Are you aware of the tax sections you receive by having a mortgage and owning a house?
Awesome.
Something so simple, something we all assume, you know. Do I have to have PMI? And by the way, I like the way the questions are starting to come in. You know, they're really making great headlines. And so I think what's going to happen within our community, and I hope everybody on this call takes this seriously, and I hope you schedule a jam session to not only implement what you want to implement from today's call, but within that jam session, give back to this community, you know, answer this question and try to not only put up great topics, but put them up as great headlines that will actually get a family and a realtor to click on them. So, you know, Todd, I'm going to do a couple things. So I'm going to push a few people that are on today's call. Like I'm going to ask Dan Keller to jump into this conversation and ask some ideas. I'm going to ask Kelly Zitlow to come in and answer some questions, and I'm going to push on Denise Donahue. So after today's call, I'm going to push on some mortgage coach community leaders to help keep this conversation going. And Jen and Todd, I would ask you to do the same. If you could push on some more people to get answers. And then, you know, guys, we have almost 100 people on this call right now. And so I would ask you, if everybody on this call really put some good quality thought into it and answered this question, we could really work well together, and everybody could come out of this exercise with what are the best questions and the best YouTube videos that we should all create to, you know, leverage ourselves. So hey, Tim, did you get what you wanted out of answering this question? Let's unmute Tim and see if we crushed it for you. Tim Lamb, are you happy with the feedback you're getting here?
David, it's pretty much like the Tim Lamb call today, so thank you. Yes, absolutely crushed it. The YouTube channels are absolutely awesome. A lot of people I hadn't thought of, a few people that I had, and then these top 25 questions are exactly what I was already brainstorming on, so this is absolutely perfect, so thank you.
Hey, so Tim, I know you well. You take great notes. You are a very thoughtful systems and process builder. I would like to, you know, ask you to help, one, document this and then be willing to share this back as either a Word document or a Google Doc within the community. Is that something you will take on and do?
My pleasure. Anything to help the group.
All right. So great question. A lot of great answers. Between Tim and I, we will either do this. I've been trying to do it as a Google Doc because it's shareable, and even make it kind of a group Google Doc that can be added onto. So stay tuned. Next week we will have a Google Doc on this, and keep the ideas coming, community. So hey, Coach Todd, we are in the last 5 minutes of this call. Want to make sure that it's actionable. Want to make sure that you help close out the call with things we need to do to make it actionable. What do we got to do?
So first off, thanks for everyone for your participation. You know, we always say that the more feedback we can get from all of you, the better this call is going to be, and this is proof of it, right? Tim came up with an idea, and we were able to run with it as a community and add value to everyone. So that was awesome. Be thinking about that next week when it comes time for this call. What is it that you want to know that you know probably other people want to know? Raise your hand, bring it up to this community, because ultimately that's what makes these calls great. You know, Dave, Jen, and I, we love to talk, but we love it more when you guys talk and you guys lead the conversation, because then we know we're really adding value. You heard Jen and I both really say it before. You know, my question always is when I close this call is that what did you take away from today? What are the 1, 2, or 3 top ideas that you have, and how can you put those to work? And Jen said what I say every week, which is right when you get off this call, do a jam session, right? I mean, minimum of 30 minutes, better is an hour of how can you do something with what you learn. So I would absolutely be going on to those YouTube channels if you wanted to make video FAQs or even just written FAQs to start. And I'd be looking at what do all those originators have and what is it that you can glean from those guys, right? Swipe and adapt. There's not a whole lot of original stuff. We can all be great and better as a community by learning from each other. And so I just always say just take the time when we get done here to grow. And so I would start there. And then I would just make sure that as you're planning out your week next week, right, you got to be looking ahead. You got to be intentional. And you know that this calls for an hour from 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific every Friday. And so next week, if you haven't blocked off the time after this to do a jam session, block off 2 hours next week. I promise you. You know what? Nothing's going to go so wrong that life will change if you block off 2 hours of your day. And so I think that that's the real commitment that you need to make to yourself, right? If you truly want to grow, if you truly want to be better, then investing in yourself first on behalf of yourself, on behalf of your team, on behalf of your clients is really going to be the way that you're going to grow and grow the most. And so I always love coming on this call. You guys hear me on here. I'm taking notes as we're going through there, and I'm looking for ways that I can improve for myself, for my team, and for my clients. And I just continue to encourage all of you to do the same. So my goal is for you guys to set some goals and to hit them. And it's not, you know, big, huge goals that are going to make the difference, right? As Darren always talks about the compound effect. It's what one little change can you implement today that will have a major impact over time. And so that's where I'll leave you guys and hand it back over to Dave to close out from here.
All right. So again, huge thank you for anyone that took the time to write out a comment. Chris Chambers, I did approve you into the group, and you know, this group is available to the mortgage industry, not just Mortgage Coach members. So do play it forward. We had almost 100 people on today's call. You know, Todd, myself, Jen, Michelle, Danny, Dave Gallegos, we take the time to be leaders on this call because we think we get a lot from it personally, but it's an opportunity to create impact. So feel free to invite other mortgage professionals that you think would like to be part of this group. You know, I do kind of look before I approve everybody because I want to make sure they're a mortgage professional, and I'm not letting, you know, spammers come into this group and or other vendors that want to sell stuff. So the only thing I really moderate is if someone that I think is signing up for this group to sell us and create spam and noise, I don't approve them. But anybody who's a mortgage professional and even some realtors, I approve to come into this group to talk about insane productivity, to talk about how to be insanely productive with Mortgage Coach. So please play it forward, invite other people, and you know, and then you know, the way Todd kicked off this call, where you know he went back, he listened to the recording. There was a part of it that he wanted to bring into his team. He took notes. He had a team. You know, the only ask I would have is if you did that, is anything that you're willing to share back with the team, whether it's a link to a document, whether it's a success story, please, you know, play that forward and share it. And just a reminder, Todd, if you don't mind sharing your script from last week, we'd be grateful for it. Jen, I had one last question for you, Jen.
Sure.
If someone was going to watch one of your podcasts, you know, what would be the one that they should
gosh,
watch?
that's
And I know
2
they're
years.
all babies, but what's the one?
Yeah, well, and they're not. Yeah, and they're not. They're not watching. They're listening. Oh gosh, it probably should be yours, right? Right? It should be yours about Mortgage Coach Edge.
Okay, well, I didn't ask to self-promote.
I would say, listen to the. You know what? I mean, next week, next Thursday or next Friday, I'm going to be interviewing Michael J. Mayer, who wrote the foreword on my book. And you know, Michael has so much wisdom. So what I would say is, not next Thursday, but the following after. It's about ready. It's going to be released the following week. So that would be August 24th, 25th. It's always released on Thursday mornings. I'd say probably listen into that because he's just really, really good. Another one is Michael Griffiths. He's out of Australia. Fantastic interview about how to cultivate relationships with people and make connections. That stands out for me as well.
Right. So one favor, Jen, if you wouldn't mind putting a post on the one or two videos that are not videos, but to your point, podcasts that you did that we should listen to. Please share that in the Insane Productivity group for us. All right, guys.
Okay.
So this call is a wrap. I am going to push a poll question as you all leave. Let us know what you thought of today's call. Did you get just tons of takeaways that it was awesome? Was it great? Was it solid? Or was it just okay? We can take it. As you leave today's call, let us know what you thought of it, and everybody have a fantastic weekend and a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. So please let us know what you thought of today's call.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Awesome.
Bye.
Take care.